Men often make up in wrath and what they want in reason. And today's game is Wrath, Aeon of Ruin, and it's a throwback to Quake 1 actually, but it's set in sort of the medieval times. So if you always want to be wondering what Quake would be like if it had a different setting rather than a sci-fi, even futuristic Doom setting, then hey, you can try this game and find out. So it's got some interesting ambient music. That's the first thing I really noticed, and it makes you appreciate like just what Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor did with the Quake 1 soundtrack. Like I even went back and was listening to the Quake 1 soundtrack the other day, and like it has a certain like gothic feel to it, and like the music in this game, while it's like okay, it's totally not even memorable. Like it doesn't even belong in the same sentence describing this. So really, one second, there we go. Okay, so really, yeah, the music definitely feels like a bit subpar, like especially if you've played like the Doom game that came out in 2016, or even like Doom Eternal, or even like Quake 2's music was pretty good for the time. But yeah, it's a fairly frantic paced like 1990s throwback, so like it really feels like a game from 20 or 30 years ago. So if you're cool with that, then you might like this. That's sort of the trend with a lot of like first person shooters now. It's like, well, we're gonna try doing something that we did 20 years ago, and there's a lot of people out there that love what was made back then, so let's go back and like reimagine it. And that's sort of what like a lot of the, like going back to like Ultra Kill, which I reviewed a while ago, and there are a few others, but yeah, pretty much like even the number of weapons in this game, like the basic punch that you see in Doom is like a blade in this, the basic pistol in Doom is a pistol in this, yada yada yada. Then there's kind of like a plasma gun in this, then there's a fang gun, which is kind of like the nail gun in Quake 1. So you can definitely see there's also like a shotgun and a spell book. I think the game's still in early access, so not a lot of information and graphics I found were available of like the enemies, but even the enemies, like it's just funny that the enemies even seem to be like almost like a almost like a parody or almost like an imitation of like classic Doom enemies. Like there's a skeleton, regular skeleton, then there's a skeleton with like football gear on. That's what I thought it was. It just like, it seems like all the enemies are just kind of like exactly what you would expect to be in a Doom game. It just feels like ultimately this game feels like a remake of Quake. It's an inferior one. Like I guess that's what I've been hinting at. Like the music feels sort of so. The open world nature of this game, where you can go into the different levels and then walk out, kind of like Mario 64 meets FPS. It goes for like $28 full price, which I kind of feel is like a rip-off for what I played. I didn't feel like it got as crazy as the shooting in the game as like Doom, or even like Doom Eternal, like more modern stuff. It feels like a subpar Ultra Kill without the intense music and like the intense shooting. I feel like the game at most it plays like a $20, maybe less, 10 or 15. I think is more like I just felt like I had zero interest playing it anymore. I had collected like the pistol, the shotgun, and I think the weapon after that, and I was just like, okay, this kind of feels like a meh. Like it just feels like a shadow of past games that came out, unless you're like an Ultra fan. Yeah, so it feels like it's lacking the thrills of some other games that are out there that came out like 20 years ago, or even like, as I said, Ultra Kill. It just feels too sprawled out and open. Like instead of being close quarters, which I feel was like the power, the strength of like the last two Doom games, I feel like the fact that there's so much open space, it doesn't feel like as intense. I'd give it a solid 7, but I feel like that's kind of generous. I feel like it's more like a 6. Like it's not going to blow you away. Um, it just feels like it's a decent FPS game that came out, but there are better games out there, especially for 20-30 bucks. You can probably pick up like even Doom 2016 or other games that came out that are more intense and just more interesting overall. I mean, it's a good attempt, but you know, another Heretic or another Hexen would probably do a better job if we ever get one. So check it out if you're a huge fan. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't hurt you if you missed this one. Keep on gaming. Bye.